Hey y'all. So, even if you don't believe in spirits, even if you don't believe in demons, even if you don't even believe in God, okay, I want you to just hear me out, listen to what I have to say, and I might actually have something that applies to you too, even if you're firm in your belief that nothing outside of what you can see with your eyes exists. So, just hear me out. That's all I'm asking. Hey guys, what's good? Alright, so first of all, my cat wants to play really bad. That's why I'm starting a little bit early. So if you hear just a bunch of running around, it's my cat. I feel so bad. I'm almost done, Bina. So I'm kind of trying to do this first and then go play with her. I feel so bad. She wants to play. But I wanted to make sure I got this out. So on my Patreon, I already have a bunch of Wednesday lives, which I call After Hours with Nia. It's a lot of fun. We talk about different topics each week. Sometimes I also do free things or do giveaways. Oh my gosh, that was so nice of you. Yes, my girl right here, she actually sent us catnip toys. That was so sweet of you, by the way. Thank you. She does still have it. She loves them. Anyways, yeah, so on Patreon, I have a bunch of previous videos that we did, including some on entity attachments and demons, which I'm going to share with you now. But on Patreon, I did share a little bit more of a personal story about demons, but I'm not going to share that here. Okay, too personal. There was a lot going on. But again, guys, even if you don't believe in this type of stuff, just hear me out. Give me a couple minutes to just share, okay? So a lot of my Reiki clients that come to me do have entity attachments, but it ranges from all over the place. There are people who have really severe attachments, and then people who, just have a couple of little lingering spirits here and there. No big deal, okay? But it is super, super common, and I think a lot of people are not aware of that. But now this is not anything to fear. Don't be obsessed oh, I gotta sage every day now, make sure there's no demons. No, you're fine, okay? You are fine. So the first thing I want to say about all of this stuff, whether you have, some type of spirit attached to you or dealing with a demonic presence, you are more powerful than any of those things. You are more powerful than any of those things, okay? But our first reaction when we are dealing with a spirit or a demonic presence or any type of attachment is we do get fearful. And I think it's because we aren't really taught what these things are. We aren't taught how to deal with them. And I think that's the reason we're afraid. And they use that to their advantage because when you're afraid of something, it has power over you. And then especially if it's something demonic, it will use that to its advantage and get you more and more fearful, possibly even have you hallucinate. Y'all have seen scary movies, right? I'm not saying all that stuff is true, but it does come from somewhere, So I wanted to talk a little bit about what are some signs of having a spirit attachment, and also how you could actually get an attachment. Where do these attachments come from? So first of all, you can have an attachment even coming from childhood. So this isn't something that just happens to adults. So be very aware of that. If you've got some kid in your life that acts really bizarre, or if you feel like you've always been watched, especially from childhood, you very well might have an entity attachment. Now granted, I'm not talking about no guardian angel, I'm talking about a spirit or some type of entity, okay? But one of the symptoms or signs is out of nowhere, if you feel extremely chronically fatigued, if you feel random mood swings, especially of a negative feeling anger, sadness, just kind of seemingly out of nowhere. If you find yourself in a very, very dark spot that you just can't get out of, no matter how hard you try the affirmations, you try the sage, you try all this stuff, and you just can't shake this feeling you're in a hole, it might not just be that you have depression or this and that problem. You may very well have entities attaching to you and just pulling your vibration lower and lower and lower and lower, and feeding off the fear, feeding off the desperation, feeding off those negative emotions. And that's the thing, is once you get one energy or spirit or entity attached to you, you often end up having multiple attachments. Okay, now like I said before, these are not always crazy severe attachments. Sometimes it's very, very subtle energy that most people can't even pick up on and never even notice at all. Okay, so it's not always super obvious. at least not in the beginning. But like I said, you can accumulate more and more attachments. So sometimes this happens like even just going out somewhere. Something could follow you home. Honestly, okay, I'm just gonna list a bunch of random stuff, but it is legit, okay? Excessive porn watching. This is something that people don't want to talk about. Obsessive porn watching. If you watch a ton of porn, or you're constantly just, hitting that pleasure button, there are specific entities that prefer that type of energy and that type of perversion. Now, I'm not saying that you can't masturbate or have a good time. What I'm saying is don't be obsessed and don't watch too much porn, okay? Because that shit is toxic. There are things called succubuses. I don't know the plural, okay, people? But there's a thing called a succubus. And these are evil spirits. They're kind of demonic. You could call them demonic. And they're specifically sexual entities. So if you've ever had a dream where like you had this insane sex dream and it was like probably something very uncomfortable, or like you really, really felt that sex dream, like you felt it, it might not be just an intense wet dream. You could have had a succubus messing with you. And this is the thing too, you are susceptible. Now again, guys, this is not to scare you. I'm going to teach you protection. I'm going to teach you how to clear it. I'm going to teach you how to get rid of it, okay? Oh man, I got sidetracked. But yes, so they can come through your dreams. And one thing that I learned is for men specifically, men are more likely to have a demonic experience in their dreams, and women are more likely to have a demonic experience on their menstrual cycle, which this is actually something I learned from one of my followers, because I was dealing with a demonic presence, a demonic entity, and she actually shared that information with me, which I never knew. But pretty much anyone is susceptible to having some type of spiritual or demonic experience in their sleep. Because if you think about it, I mean, we kind of go into other realms, we're asleep, we're in a way defenseless. So yeah, just be aware of that, But again, sometimes dreams are just dreams. So I'm not saying be paranoid. I'm not saying assume the worst, you have a bunch of entities on you, but acknowledge that there very well could be. Another thing that I think can also come from an entity are addictions, or an addiction could attract an entity, if that makes sense, because I mean, think about it. The person gets this addiction and they just can't stop. It's on their mind constantly, and it often leads to them doing worse and worse things. Entities love that because it's us literally killing ourselves. It's us living in this vibration of, I don't want to deal with the world, I want to escape it. And oftentimes we do feel fearful, we feel all these different types of things, and there are a lot of entities. Okay, let's just talk even just about alcohol. Alcohol comes from the word alcool, which is an Arabic spirit that lives in alcohol that basically they say just kind of like rots your gut or like kills you, which is what alcohol does. So you could say there's no such thing as an alcohol spirit, and it's just the alcohol destroying your body. And that's fine. That's part of it too. But what I'm saying is there could also literally be spirits attached to these alcohols that are also literally called spirits that could be attaching to you and causing all these problems. Whew. So I think in part, especially with addiction, some of these entities that are attached to us, we could create them. We can create these entity attachments. So like for instance, if I sit here and I'm just constantly thinking worst case scenario, constantly beating myself up, I'm like a magnet for an entity. And again, I think as divine beings, we could probably even create an entity that just feeds us more of this gross feeling that for whatever reason we are putting ourselves through, right? Another way you can get them is through other people, okay? It's kind of like, think about it as like an STD, right? If I have sex with somebody who has an entity attachment, well, guess what, honey? Part of that entity is going to be on you now, okay? So you can get it that way. One thing I learned is, how a lot of people hold hands when they pray? If you're holding hands and praying with somebody, they could very well pass you something. I'm not saying that happens 100% of the time, but it can very well happen. You can get it from other people. Like, for instance, if you have a friend who's always with the drama, like everywhere you look, your friend is like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened to me. Oh my God, right? And it's just every time you're with them, it's like the most dramatic shit happens, or like you hang out with them and you're just drained afterwards. They have entities. they have attachments. And if they're that deep into it where they have drama all the time, they probably like those entities, or they have grown comfortable with those entities, which is another thing I want to talk about. A lot of times when you have these entities attached to you, especially for long periods of time, maybe you pick them up from childhood, teenage years, whatever, you get comfortable in their energy. You get comfortable in the misery, in the addiction, in the illusion. And then more and more come, and you fall deeper and deeper and deeper. So a lot of people go their whole life with all these attachments, and they never even know, or they don't realize it, or they don't know how to get rid of it. But I want to talk about that too. I want to talk about how to get rid of it. So most of this that I'm talking about, I'm just kind of talking about generally entity attachments. I do want to go into demons at the end, but I want to talk a little bit about like what you should do. Okay. Now again, I don't expect everyone to like believe me or be on board with all this, but I want you to at least take it into consideration, because at some point you may need to know this. All right. Because it's very common. It's very common. And I will say this too, with entity attachments, actually, sometimes the person does know. You know, like for instance, oh, I feel like somebody's watching me, or this really weird thing happened in my house, but it's probably nothing. Like, sometimes it is that obvious. Sometimes it just straight up reveals itself to you. But sometimes they can hide. And that's where it gets kind of tricky. Of course, to get rid of it, you could do Reiki. I practice Reiki, obviously. If you're one of my students, you could use Choku-rei to cleanse them. You could use Seiheki to heal them. But I also recommend using Dai-Komyo to completely banish them. But for other people who have not taken my Reiki classes or who are uninterested in learning, don't use sage. Okay, like sage does work. You can use sage. Just make sure the doors and the windows are open. But guys, especially if you're dealing with something that's very, very powerful and possibly demonic, sage is not going to clear it out. Okay, sage is just going to piss it off. Again, especially if it's something demonic. Because there are ranks to this. You know what I mean? Like there's a low level spirit, and there's like a poltergeist, and then there's like, you know, kind of stronger spirits, and then there's full on demon, right? So there's levels to this shit. So if you're lighting sage and you're dealing with some heavy energy, all you're going to do is piss it off. You know, it's like if I sprayed a bear with a water hose. Like, it's probably not going to make the bear go away. So just something to be mindful of. If you really want to make sure you're getting rid of something, you have to pray. And now I know, oh, well, I'm not a Christian. Okay, you don't got to be Christian to say a damn prayer, all right? Everybody believes in something. Say a prayer. Specifically, if you feel like it's demonic, call upon Jesus Christ, okay? Because Jesus Christ, whether you believe he's God or not, he did banish demons, okay? And trust me, his energy is a whole lot of help. Use holy water. Actually, I'll get more into that with the demon stuff. But with these entities, I also kind of recommend, I think Palo Santo sometimes is also better than sage, because Palo Santo is actually poisonous to demonic spirits as well. And Palo Santo, while it clears, also brings in good energy. But anyways, if you do like maybe even like a spiritual bath to like cleanse yourself with the entities, especially if you do have some type of addiction, like throwing that out, getting rid of alcohol, getting rid of smoke stuff, like just anything of a possible lower vibration, kind of get space from it, throw it out. If you know how to cut cords, if you know how to dry bathe, honestly, like the best thing to deal with these entities is Reiki. And I hate to say that because of course, like, you know, I teach Reiki, I practice Reiki, and it's like my living, but literally like it is the best way, because then you know for sure that it's gone. However, I'm going to teach all of you guys this one practice that will really help. And this will help with entity attachments and demons as well. So, for my Reiki students, it's very similar to the level 3 symbol Dai-Komyo, but this is a little bit different. So guys, just listen up. Again, it's super, super simple. You want to become light. Because what I used to do is I would take the energy and send it to love and light, which sometimes works. But if it's really, really attached, or it's really strong, or it's really dark, it's really evil, it's a little bit harder than just sending it straight to light. So what you can do is, you know, stand, sit, doesn't matter, whatever you're doing, Just inhale, really like the biggest inhale you can, with the intention that you are taking in all the power and all the light that surrounds you. So you're inhaling and you're trying to take in all the light and power that surrounds you. And then when you exhale, you want to visualize your whole entire body just glowing with light. This can be yellow light, white light, doesn't really matter. You just want to make sure it's bright light and just really believing that you are more powerful than this entity, because guess what? You are more powerful than any entity, especially if it's low vibrational, like some type of demon. Honestly, demons are a bunch of freaking sewer rats. And you'll see that if you ever have to deal with them. After a while, once the fear passes, you realize they are nothing. They literally are nothing. They're honestly ridiculous and embarrassing. I will say this. Do not underestimate the power of salt. I put salt all around my house. I have also set the intention that any entity of a low vibration that steps foot in my yard or in my house is getting burnt up and sent to love and light for healing and transmutation. So that's another thing. Use your intention. Your spoken word intention is so powerful, which kind of leads me into dealing with demons. So first of all, if you're dealing with a demonic entity, you're gonna know. Okay, it's not gonna be a question like, was that demonic? I don't know. Like, no, like you are gonna know if it's demonic. It's just one of those things. Like, how did you know you were gonna marry your boyfriend? Oh, I just knew. It's like you're just gonna know. It's just obvious. It could be the similar thing of what I said with the entities: random moodiness, darkness, random fear, feeling like somebody's watching you, feeling a presence, whatever it is. But trust me, if you're dealing with some demonic shit, you will know right away. No doubt about it. Like I said, you could do the exercise I just shared with you guys to become the light and really like expel it. But again, just your like vocal intention and your words are so powerful, especially if you use force. So if I'm dealing with something that I feel like is very frightening and very dark, I tell it to go away. But I don't just say like, ghost, could you please go away? I'm like, no, get the fuck out of my house and never come back. That's it. You have to be forceful. Like, get out now. Like, you have to really, really command your voice and like project your power. Because again, they love fear. They love desperation. If they sense that you're fearful and you're not really being commanding, they're just going to keep messing with you. Anytime I have worked with a demon or, I've taught people what to do, they've said just saying get out or stop or leave me alone has made them go away. But especially if you say leave in the name of Jesus Christ. Whoo! You bring up Jesus Christ around a demon, oh, it's over. It's over. Don't get me wrong, though. Like I said, there are ranks, so you could piss it off. That's another thing with demons is I a lot of times recommend you don't deal with it completely by yourself. Like worst case scenario, sure. But if you have support, you're going to want to have that support. The person can be physically with you to help you, but even just long distance. Like for instance, I am more than willing to help, but somebody like that who is a high vibrational person, or especially somebody who's dealt with demonic energies before, you want to ask them for help. Again, even if it's long distance. I do think there is strength in numbers, especially with these things, because they can get in your head. I also find sometimes it's better if you are dealing with a demonic energy, especially in a home, try to get some distance from it. Okay, because when you're constantly with it, again, it just gets deeper and deeper into your head, and my little kitty wants to play. Oh, 1 second, baby. It just gets more in your head, and it'll just drive you crazy. Again, you've seen the movies, right? You've seen the movies. Jesus Christ always comes through in this situation. Again, I don't care if you don't think he's God, that's fine. But we can all agree he's an ascended master, right? So call on him to protect you and to remove the demon. What I've been saying lately, usually when I'm taking a darkness out, whether that's a dark energy, entity, demon, whatever, I'm always having that intention that I'm sending it to love and light for healing and transmutation. Because if you just banish the darkness, well, now it's just outside, or, now it's over here, or now it's at the neighbor's house, now it's a mile down the road. So send it to a healing space. Send it to love and light to be healed and transmuted. Sometimes, though, what I do is I'll be like, Jesus, please remove these entities, send them to love and light, or wherever you think they should go. Sometimes I'm like, hey, maybe they need to go downstairs. I don't know. Let me get a drink of water. Hold up. I'm going to make sure I cover everything. Yeah, so like sage and demons, it ain't happening. All you're going to do is piss it off. Holy water. Holy water is a big one. Especially if you're dealing with a lot of spirits, a lot of demons. It always has worked. I used it recently in my house, but also when I was younger, actually, I grew up in a haunted house. There were 3 spirits, sometimes 4, mostly 3. They would just torment me day in and day out, never left me alone, breaking stuff. Oh, it was just so annoying. Excuse me. And finally, one day, y'all, straight up, I grabbed my crucifix, I grabbed my holy water, I was throwing the holy water over, I said, in the name of Jesus, get the fuck out of my house, in the name of Jesus, get out of my house, never return. I hung up a rosary in my bedroom, never had an issue. Never had an issue. Your words, along with a couple of, holy tools, can get rid of these things. But then what do you see in every horror movie? The demon wins, right? All the humans are dead because we're too stupid or we're too weak, and that's so not the case. Also, salt is a really good thing. Black salt, regular salt. Crystals, of course, can help. But if you can just constantly keep yourself cleansed, keep yourself in a good space as much as you can, and again, kind of setting some type of protective barrier around your home, either with your words, your intention, salt, crystals, like, you have more power than all of these things. But they can hide from you and they can sneak in and you'll have to deal with it. So again, I highly recommend calling in Jesus Christ, calling in the archangels to protect you and help you and pray for you, using holy water, and again, becoming the light. Because when light, pure light, and it's you and you're stepping into your power like that in front of some low entity demon, it's going to be terrified. It's going to be, oh shit, this human knows what's up. Versus another human who is like, oh my gosh, I can't handle this. I can't do it. The demon's going to get me. That human's done for. Like, good luck. So you have 2 choices here. You can become the light, empower yourself, remember who the hell you are, remember that these entities are literally nothing. They're just like these dark beings that make you fear. Like, that's pretty much what they do. They just make you fear and try to separate you from God. So remember who you are. Banish it. Send it to love and light. Become the light. Pray. Get it gone. But like I said, Reiki always helps. By the way, guys, my Reiki sessions and Reiki courses are in the link in my bio. I recently lowered all of the prices. Literally, I don't think they've... Or maybe it's the same price as when I first started, like 2 years ago. But the reason I did this was just because I have recently had, my Christ awakening. I kind of hate to say it that way because I feel like whenever somebody brings up Christ, they automatically assume it's like Christian, which is not what I'm doing here. But ever since I've had that awakening, I just feel like I was just charging too much. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm worth it. Like, your girl is worth the investment. But I just feel it's wrong. I'm really supposed to be helping people, and I shouldn't only help the people who have an extra couple $100 laying around. It's unfair. Especially when I look at other Reiki masters who offer courses, they charge like $1,000 for like a level 2 course. It's just ridiculous. I don't want to bleed you guys dry. You know what I mean? Like, I want to have a community. I want to help people. I want people to empower themselves so that when these entities are attaching to you and making your life a living hell, that you know what to do, or that you can at least, start the process of protecting yourself or getting rid of it. Because again, we are so much powerful than all of this, like literally all of this. But like I've said in previous little reels and videos, I do feel there is a spiritual war happening, and I've been hearing more and more stories about people having attachments. And again, people have had attachments forever, but I feel like recently they're becoming stronger and stronger because society is becoming more and more detached from reality, more and more detached from their spirituality, more and more attached from their body, from their home, this planet. Everyone talks about, saving the planet, but they don't even go outside. And the more we become detached from ourselves and our home and everything else, the more we forget who we are and what our power truly is. And we think that all these supernatural beings are, you know, more powerful, and it's ridiculous. But anyways, I really hope that I said everything I was going to say. Ooh, one more thing too. And I wish I said this in the beginning, but what if these entities, some of them, were actually just old versions of ourselves still hanging around? I'm going to leave you with that thought. Anyways, guys, thanks for listening to my spiel. I really hope I said everything I was going to say. It's just sometimes in the heat of the moment going live, you kind of like spaz out. But yeah. All right. Love you guys. I'll talk to you later. Bye.